The TOCOL function, short for TOCOL, is both easy to understand and easy to implement. If we have a set of values, like for example these employees, we can see that these employees are going both horizontally and vertically on the page. So the TOCOL or TOCOL function would take this horizontal and vertical set of values and make it into a single column. We can go to cell K6 here in the spreadsheet, use the Formulas tab at the top of the screen and the Lookup and Reference drop-down menu, and TOCOL is found in alphabetical order after take and before to row. So I click here on TOCOL, and it has 3 available arguments. The first is the only one that's bolded, which means it is the only required field. The required field here is the array of cells that we're interested in, and array here is just shorthand for a set of cells that we would select. So here I'm going to select from cell D6 down and across to cell I26. As you can see in the results, we have here Hampton, Jacob, Wolf, Lewis, etc. If we simply click OK, we notice that this default usage of the TOCOL function results in a few different things. First of all, the roster list as it stands goes from Jacob to Lewis to Ernest, which means that it is going cell by cell horizontally across the page. It's going from Jacob to Lewis to Ernest. Then we get down to Magdalena, Austin, Alejan, Henry, and Anne, and you'll see that immediately after Anne, we have an empty cell. And for that empty cell, the TOCOL function has decided to put in the number value 0. And then farther down the way, after Jeremy Whitney, we have another 0. And then farther down, after Jeremy Wilkins, we have 2 zeros. So if I did not want that to happen, let's go ahead and revisit that TOCOL function. I can click back on cell K6 and use the F of X button here at the top of the screen in order to reopen that dialog box. And now we get to the second field, which is the ignore argument. And so the question here is, do we want to ignore certain types of values? As you can see to the right here, we've written out that a 0 or an empty cell here means that we keep all the entries, where empty entries give us a 0. We can also put in a 1 to ignore blanks, a 2 to ignore errors, or a 3 to ignore both blanks and errors. In this scenario, I think 3 feels like a good choice, so I'll type 3 into the ignore field, and I'll click OK. And just like that, all the zeros in this column have now been removed. Now you'll see there is a third option, which is simply the by call or by row opportunity. And we just talked about this. Right now, it's going row by row. So it's going from Jacob to Lewis to Ernest. But if we wanted it to go Jacob to Magdalena to Kurt instead, again, clicking on cell K6 here, we click on the F of X button, and in the scan column field, the empty option is the same thing as putting false. If we were to put true or the number 1 into this spot right here, that would tell it to scan by column. And a quick note here, true is not lowercase true, the word true, but rather all caps true, which is the Boolean value true, which is why it's the same thing as the number 1. I almost never use the full word true because it's easier to mess that up than it is to simply type a 1. And immediately you can see here that after Jacob Hampton, we then have Magdalena Cavalcante. So we click OK, and that's exactly what we see. Finally, a very common thing to do with this function would be to nest it inside of either the unique function or the sort function, or both. The unique function, as the name suggests, eliminates all the duplicates, only leaving you with the unique values. And, again, as the name suggests, the sort function would put this into alphabetical order. So let's say, for example, we simply wanted to remove the duplicates. Just by looking at long names here, we can see that Magdalena Cavalcante is here as well as here. So because we have those duplicates, we'll go to cell L6, and to find a unique roster list, we'll start not with the TOCOL function, but rather with the unique function. So I go to the Formulas tab at the top of the screen. I use the Lookup and Reference drop-down menu and choose Unique. And then inside the array field here, for this argument, we'll use TOCOL. Again, highlighting all those cells. After a comma, putting in a 3 to ignore both blanks and errors. And then after another comma, putting in a 1 to show it by column. Then I close the parentheses and click OK. I get the same results that I had before, except now Magdalena Cavalcante is only in the list one time. You can see that she's not down here a second time. Mustafa Abdallah, again, is in there one time, not in there 2 or more times. And in fact, if I scroll down this page, you can clearly see that because of the removal of those duplicates, we have a much shorter list over here on the right side.